Hello and welcome everybody. This is Roland Hartmann from graphicINmotion.com, and this time I have a little giveaway for all of you guys. I recently reached the really magical number of 20,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, and yeah, as a thank you for all of you guys, I want to give away a little After Effects intro template. So let's take a look at the template that we'll be able to download from my website. So you see, it is this kind of particle wave style intro, and you also have the possibility to enter 4 different titles added to these callouts floating around here. And let me tell you that this template requires 2 plugins. So if you want to use this intro, then you will need Trapcode Particular and Trapcode Form. You can get both plugins on the Red Giant website. They're not free, but there are trial versions. So if you want to play around with this template, you can do this and download the trial versions of these 2 plugins, Trapcode Particular and Trapcode Form. But be aware that the trial versions of these 2 plugins render with a watermark. The watermark is a red cross right across the screen. Okay, so you probably want to know where you can download this template. You can download the template on my website. You will find the link to the download in the video description, and you will also find it on screen right now. And now I want to give you a little tutorial how to use this template, and in the second part I will do a quick breakdown how I made this template. So stay tuned, there is more to come. In After Effects, when you download the template and open it up, you will see a similar situation like this. There should be a few compositions already open in the timeline, and first of all you can of course import a logo or also a picture. So let's do this. I go to File and I select Import and Import File, and then I will select a logo. So for this example I will use the bigger version of my logo, because now for the preview I used this logo only, and now I will use the logo with the title. Let's see how this will look. I have no idea, I never tried it honestly. So what I want to do is I want to scale it down a bit and move it up a few pixels, because I want to have some room for my subtitle later on. So let's make the placeholder here invisible, and let's take a look at our render composition. If I take the cursor to the end, you will see the final frame or the final look, and I think this is not too bad. So let's take a look what the particles do. Particles now of course take over the color of the logo that I inserted, and now you see we have this gray look, and here at the side there are the colored particles, and I think it looks really good. So I really like this. If you do not see the call out lines here, this is because I set the resolution to half, and these lines are really thin. So if you set it to full, you will be able to see them. But I recommend to work in half resolution, because yeah, it's a bit faster. So now the second step of the customization would be to insert titles, and you see that you have 5 different text layers or compositions already open. The first text is here's the same. Let's open up, or let's change the resolution to full, and you can see the call out line. You can change the text by simply double clicking on the text layer. Now you can enter your text. Let's say enter your title. And you immediately see, okay, now the title and the call out do not match anymore. So what can I do here? I select my text first of all, and now I simply drag it over. I hold down Shift on the keyboard so it stays on the Y-axis, and I align these 2 points up here, more or less. And now what I can do is I can go into my stroke comp, and now you can change the stroke. Select the stroke line, and then simply select this point here, hold down Shift again, and drag it over. Hold down Shift. Again, drag it, hold down Shift. Okay, drag first, then hold down Shift. So I have to eyeball this because I have no text here. So you have to go back using the mini flowchart to text number 1, and then you can see I did a pretty good job here, so this is really lined up nicely with the end of the title. So this is how you can change the titles. You can of course also in the stroke composition change the angle here by pulling this around if you want to. Control C to undo this, it's not necessary. So the other titles are exactly the same. Simply enter your title and change the call out if you want or if needed. Text number 5 is not visible until the end here, because this is our subtitle in the end that is shown beneath the logo. Here you can enter your web address or whatever you want, and then you can go to the render comp. In the render composition you can of course change the position of the subtitle here in the end. So select text 5 and then you can reposition this. In my case I think it's quite okay. And another option that you have is you can of course change the color correction. I did a very simple basic color correction. You see, if I disable this, I simply added a bit of a bluish touch to all of this, or to the whole project. So if you want to change this, then you can play around with these curve settings right here. You see, as I just changed the RGB and the blue channels here a bit. Another option that you have, let's go to an earlier frame, is to remove or add the vignette effect. So let's zoom out a bit here. If you see, if I enable it, it just darkens out the areas around here a bit. If you disable it, then the whole frame is bright. Okay, one more thing I want to show you. You can of course also change the style of the particles. So if you select the form layer and open up the Trapcode form settings, then you can of course change the particle count or the particle look. For example, if you want to have more stringy look, then you could do the following: reduce the particles on Y to maybe 125. And then you can increase the particles on X, for example 900, let's see, or even more, 1800, and you will get a completely different look. Don't know how this looks like. Yeah, it's stringy, not too bad, but I will undo this because I like the particle look a bit better. One more undo. Okay, and we are back to normal. So now you can of course also change the size of the particles. The standard value is 1. You could make 2 to make them bigger, or reduce the size, whatever you want, to create your own intro. So this is it with the customization. Now you can move on and render out the render composition. So one more thing I want to tell you, I released this template under a Creative Commons license, so I beg you to not use it for commercial projects. You know, if you use it for your YouTube channel, for your private YouTube channel, I have no problem with that, but please do not distribute it, do not sell it, do not use it for any commercial project for clients or whatever. If you want to have more After Effects templates, I want to invite you to check out my website, which is www.graphicINmotion.com. On my website you can find all my After Effects templates, a lot of logo animations, slideshows, corporate slideshows, and so on. Take a look, browse all my templates. Maybe you find something that is useful for your project and that can save you some time. You can also find a bunch of tutorials on my website, free to watch. And yeah, you can also find a few freebie projects here. I have some free texture packs and some free After Effects project files on my website too. So check out www.graphicINmotion.com. If you want to see my social media, then you see right here we have Twitter, Behance, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, Vimeo, and whatever this is, some feed. Don't know, never use these. I also want to invite you to check out my profile at VideoHive. VideoHive is my marketplace, or not my marketplace, but the marketplace where I offer my templates. There you can get all the templates. You can purchase all the templates that are not free, but they're really cheap, really good, and they can save you a bunch of time. So check these out. If you do not want to go directly to VideoHive, you can also go to my website. You see in the After Effects templates, if I, for example, click on my watercolor slideshow 2 here, you have always this Enter Shop button. This will lead you directly to VideoHive, to the file that you're interested in. And here you can take a look and yeah, purchase it if you want to. I also want to invite you to join the community on my YouTube channel. As I said, it's growing. Now we have already 20,661. So I'm quite late with this 20,000 special gift. But well, you guys are rocking. It's really great. I thank all of you. You make all of this possible. Okay, and now I want to give you a quick breakdown how you can make this template, or how I made this template. You can also check it, of course, when you download it, and you can take a look, in-depth look at the project structure. So what I did here is I started out with a composition where I added my logo. And this is exactly this composition right here. It is only visible in the end. It has a slight glow on it, as you can see here. So this is basically my starting point. So I created a composition and I added my logo to this composition. And I think I made this composition 3D. Yes, you have to make it 3D because otherwise you cannot use it as a layer map for form. What I did then, I will recreate this now quickly. So let's create a new layer here. New solid, call it form tutorial. Now we have a new solid. I will drag it underneath my vignette and my color correction here. And now I will apply the Trapcode form effect. So in my effects presets, I simply type form and move down to Trapcode form and apply it to my form tutorial. Now let's zoom in a bit here. What I want to do now is I change the base form to the size of my composition, which is full HD, which is 1920 pixels in X and 1080 pixels in Y. The C size doesn't really matter. We can set this to 1 or leave it. Now we want to increase the particles, and I had a particle count of 450 and 250, but you can play around with this, and particles in C1. Now you see nothing because particles are pretty small. So let's go to the particle settings. Let's set the size to 1. And let's set the sphere to 0 because I do not want them to be feathered. Yeah, the sphere feather to 0. Now it's still, something is not right. This is because of the camera. Yeah, everything is okay. So now what I want to do is I want to add a new layer map here. Go to the layer maps tab, and in the color and alpha we choose layer to be the logo layer. So the logo layer, and I want to map this over X and Y. And now you see immediately that everything disappears. And if I turn off my logo layer, you see that we have this representation of my logo formed out of particles. Now, if I move around here, you see that the camera is already nicely moving around my particle logo, but well, it doesn't really look so cool because it does not do this nice wavy forms. So what can I do here? Select the form layer again, and now first of all I want to rotate my base form. So I want it to lay down flat, so I rotate it for 90 degrees on the X axis. If I do this, you see now I have this flat particle thing here. It also looks quite nice actually. And now what you can do is you can add a bit of fractal field. So go to the fractal fields tab and increase the displays here. So I don't know which value I used. I think something about 150. Maybe this is too much. Let's see. Oh, it looks not too bad. You see? Quite nice. We can change the flow evolution to a smaller value because 50 is very, very high and it will go really fast. I can show you this. Let's make a quick RAM preview. And you can also see that I added some depth of field to the camera. So I will show you the camera settings in a moment. Let's make a quick RAM preview just to check out the flow, the evolution flow here. But it will be pretty fast, so a bit chaotic. So it's better if you reduce this. But you see it is working and looks pretty good. Now the depth of field of the camera is reaching the particles here, so always depends what kind of a form or what kind of a shape your logo has whenever the particles or when the particles get really visible and sharp. So, okay, I think this is enough of a preview. Let's see. And you see that it's quite wobbling around quite a bit. So I definitely want to turn this down a little bit. So instead of 50, let's turn this down to a value of 10. And now you can also play around, of course, with the look of this setting. So what I did is I reduced the complexity from 3 to 1, I think. Let's see how this looks like so. And now I could reduce the displays a little bit, maybe 120, so that's not so big. Or even further, 100, I don't know. Oops, wrong. Right here, 100, let's see. And this looks pretty good. Now what I did is I added a camera animation. If we click on this guy here, the hide all layers button, the shy switch, then you see that there is a camera, that there is a camera control, which is basically a 3D null object that's right in the middle of the composition. The camera is parented to it, and then this one is rotating on its y-axis from 180 degrees to 0. So it's turning, or it's moving around. The camera is moving around our particle setup in a circle. If we take a look at the two views here, and this is my top view, and you take the camera, then you see that this is moving in a circle or in a half circle around our particle setup here. And what else can I tell you? The camera settings. Let's take a look at the camera settings. Layer, camera settings. The camera I think it's quite a crazy camera. It has a focal length of nearly 300 millimeters, so it's a very long focal length. I made this because then you get a really shallow or really narrow depth of field. And yeah, that's basically it. So it's a custom camera, film size 36 millimeter. Okay, this is boring. So let's move on here. Camera setup done. So in the end, to form your logo, you simply have to do two things. First of all, you need to animate the rotation on the x-axis. So let's say I want to change the rotation between frame number 413 and 450, just to take some values, and I set a keyframe here to rotation of 0. You see now it's standing up straight again. Now of course you can make this a bit smoother by easy ease these keyframes, or even better, if you really want to create a cool animation, then use the graph editor and shape your wave here or your curve by hand, but I don't do this now. So simple easy ease here. You see now we're turning this for 90 degrees. And right here at the end, I want to reduce the strength of my fractal field, so about here in the middle. Let's go to our fractal strength or displace value, set a keyframe, press U again to reveal this one too, and in the end this should be 0. So now you see that we can easy ease these two, easy ease. You can also press F9 on the keyboard to do this. Now you see it's turning upside down and it's coming together in its original shape. And then I can blend in my logo, which I already did here. So let's make this visible again. And you see now it's not perfectly lined up because the animation here is a little bit too early. But if I shift these keyframes here now, will work like so. Now you see everything is coming together. The camera is moving back, and while the particles come together, the logo is animating on and is visible. Okay, so this is the basic idea behind this intro. You see it's fairly quickly to make and easy. Of course, I added a bit more details, and now I will just switch back to the original one, and you see there are these particles that are rising, and they are also in the same color as our logo. So these are made with Trapcode particular, and you can take a look at this setup here. Here's the particle setup for these. Then I added, of course, a bit of a glow. I added a flare layer The flare, by the way, is pre-rendered, so you do not have to use a plugin here. This is the flare. You see it's traveling along with our camera. So yeah, a few more details just to polish it a bit, to make it look bigger or better, not bigger, better. And of course I added the callouts. Callouts, very easy. The callouts are simply, if you go to the text compositions and if you enter the stroke compositions, are simply a layer with a mask on it, and then I added the stroke effect, and yeah, this creates these thin lines, and I animated these, so you can animate the strokes. Like, let me take a look. Here you see the keyframes, and this simply works by animating the start or also the end property here. Okay, so this is it for this presentation or tutorial about this free intro template. I hope that you enjoy the template, create some nice intros, and yeah, show your examples in the comments, post some video examples. I would be really glad to watch what you create with this template, and also use the template to create your own project. You know, go into the settings and change the form settings, change the animations, do whatever you want, you know, create a remix of this intro and share it. I'm really looking forward to see the results that you get. Okay, so I want to invite you again to check out my website, which is www.graphicINmotion.com. Check out all the content, After Effects templates, stock motion graphics, some tutorials or some free textures and After Effects project files. Browse the templates, maybe you find something that you can use in your projects that can save you a bunch of time. And stay tuned to all the media channels, Twitter, Behance, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, Vimeo, whatever you prefer. Thank you very much for watching, and I really hope to see you soon. Goodbye.